I love education. I love my school feeding.
For WFP, the history of homegrown school feeding goes beyond Liberia. Liberia was just one piece of it. And the idea came from the fact that WFP buys such a huge quantity of food group worldwide. And we know that the farmers struggle to get market for their commodities. So the decision has been, why don't we bring together the demand, the huge demand that WFP can have on the food market, closer to the production for which African countries are struggling to get outlet for commodities. So that's how the homegrown school feeding concept came into being.
There are a couple of things that make education successful. And one of those come with the early children's school. And children generally, hunger is not part of their template. When they are going to school and they are fed, you will see the difference between children whose parents feed them and the children whose parents don't. So therefore, any introduction of school feeding which complements teaching and learning, for me, is already half to success.
The thing that made me happy to come to school, because my money can be swapping to go to buy the cars in the bush, they can't make it to pay my school fee. So I think it made me happy I become to school and food. The food that they bring, the food, all the food can make food healthy. The food is fun.
Homegrown school feeding provides an opportunity for students, to have part of their meals, nutritious food from crops that are grown locally.
The homegrown school feeding program is going to support the agriculture sector by increasing production because it is going to give farmers the opportunity to produce, and then these different agri-products will be sold on the market to other schools, and then schools can have it to feed their students. So that's going to help for farmers to increase their production.
I'm Samuel Winnie. I am a farmer. I will only farming to get food for my family. I have 6 children, and 4 were in school and 2 were not in school because I have no money. Now, so homegrown school feeding program support me. I got all my children in school, and now I got money. Even one born, another one to put them in school because of who. School feeding program has helped me more.
During the Ebola crisis, my farming went down actually because we were not able to move from place to place. We were just one area, so it affected me greatly.
People who went to work and produce, when Ebola hit, the country could not find a means of selling their produce because people were afraid to go to the market because they didn't want to get in contact with other people before they get in contact with the disease. So the presence of Ebola in Liberia also affected the agriculture sector. We have been involved with subsistence farming, and subsistence farming does not allow us to produce on a large scale because the farmers are using cutlasses and hoes to be able to produce. So we have a minimum support right now to be able to give machines. So we are thinking about organizing what we call the technology center, where we can be able to use machines to help the farmers produce on a larger scale.
FAO will provide low-cost, technologies, to farmers, providing them with equipment, with training, using farmer field school approaches.
This is a program that will be able to help enhance the efforts that we have as a government, especially as regards market women, as regards farming women, and also as regards being able to pass on to girls and to, just in general the youth, the knowledge about growing crops, nutritious crops, that will be able to help us continue the homegrown school feeding program. The school feeding program itself empowers girls to stay in school because they're not out there looking for food, for example. They are able to be fed in school. Being able to have that kind of assistance helps keep them in school where they're able to concentrate on learning and not worry about how they're going to be eating.
I am Fatou Bodo. I am 16 years old. I am in the 4th grade class. When I grow up, I want to be a medical doctor to save people's lives. Sometimes I be going to school. My mama gave me reason. I can feel bad because I can be hungry. I can focus on my lesson. Since school feeding came, I can be happy to go to school because I can eat my gourmet food. I focus on my lesson. Every morning I can be happy to go to school because the school feeding I play with my friend and we play jumping rope. We say the timetable.
The school feeding is like an incentive. It's like when you put bait on the hook. The little children, many of them go to school, some of them not necessarily to learn yet. But when they get to school because there is feeding, and as they get the feeding, then their mind shift from the feeding to school. That is an accomplishment. Then two, keeping them in school, that retention part is even critical. They could come, but as they come, there's a point in time that they run out of sugar. And when the blood sugar is down and they are not thinking, the kid's going to leave. Or when they go on recess, they won't come back. So we want to make sure that these implements are complete and intact.
The school feeding can make my brain set for me to study my lesson. And if I come to school, I can do the whole class.
The homegrown school feeding program is central to the Pro-Poor Agenda for Prosperity and Development because what that agenda looks to do is to move Liberia toward domestic competitiveness in the agriculture sector and toward switching the diet of Liberians from eating imported rice to locally grown rice. And school feeding programs are critical to create markets for farmers. And so the government has about 1.9 billion investment in agriculture through the PSIP, Public Sector Investment Program. When farmers know that whatever they produce is going to be bought, they have an incentive to grow more. And so this is the big emphasis and thrust that the government is bringing to the agriculture sector.
And I think the leadership of Liberia has understood the importance of homegrown school feeding as a I would say, a social protection or safety net for the country, because it tackles poverty, it tackles education, and it contributes to leveraging or moving people out of poverty, and this is actually what the vision of the government is telling us.
Book learning requires time. The more time, the better you learn. The fewer hours, the less you learn. With the understanding that many of our children do not have the opportunity to have home teachers, to have electricity in their homes, to be able to provide study for themselves. Many of them don't have textbooks and study materials. The place of learning is in the school. So our hope is to keep them in school as long as possible. If I could even keep them to 6 hours, but we cannot. So we are encouraging a school feeding, please, from all of our stakeholders, and even those who are not direct participants. If they can support the key frontline people, the WFP, the Mary Smith, the Save the Children, the ZOA, if they can support them plus others that will come, we believe that the outcome of learning will be great.